Howdy, folks. Kevin here. Hopefully you can hear me, and I didn't just start in the middle of nothing. Um, I'm getting back into the hang of these live streams, so trying to remember how to get it going. Let me see if I can hear myself and make sure that I sound all right. So I'm just going to wait here for a minute while I wait for everything to start up. If you are in chat, love to hear you say hi. Looks like we got a few viewers. Okay. The actual demo is going to start at 3 p.m. That's what we have it scheduled for, but I did want to get this stream started before then because I wanted to make sure that everything was up and running before starting. So, unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of white noise in the background because I've got my air conditioner running right behind me, and there's not much I can do about that besides build a wall, and I need to build a wall. Hi, Praveen. Thanks for saying hi in chat. And anyway, so I need to build a wall here, and yeah, might take a while. So I'm going to assume that you can hear what I'm saying, so that's good. Stream health looks good. And that's all that. Okay. That's neat. Let's get things set up. So I need to get a browser open. So if you will wait with me while I get the browser set up. I think I'll do that. Oh, it's probably going to be a lot quieter now for a few minutes while the air conditioner is off. This is really exciting content. Waiting for my Chrome to open. I have some very hot tea. A little late in the day for caffeine, but a little early for alcohol. So I'll stick with the caffeine. Let's do that. You are open there. And while we're here, oops, I'll just do a shameless plug for my book, Web App Testing Guidebook. It is available. I'm going to I was thinking about, so one thing I need to do with this book is finish out the examples. So at the end of many of these chapters, like this chapter, I have a chapter challenge, and for a few of them I have them built out, but for many of them I don't. So these later ones I don't have them built out yet. I don't know why I changed it from chapter challenge to exercises, and then I also need to have the actual things. So what I was going to do is basically do a live stream of me building these out. I think I have 2.7, 2.8, and 2.9 to go, but I figure if anybody is interested in paying or watching that, they are welcome to. So welcome viewers as you are joining. Appreciate it. Sorry for having this planned for 2:30 or for 30 past the hour and then having to move it back. I needed to make sure that I had enough time and I wasn't watching the kids while I was supposed to be doing the live stream. So that's what's going on there. That's why I got pushed back. But we will be starting with the demo pretty soon. Just got to wait a few more minutes, 2:57. Wait for that. So let's see. What can we do in the meantime? Have some soda. That would be good. What else? It's been a while since I've done this, and have a new setup, and hopefully I'll get to start doing this more often. For anybody interested in the technical details, I did have a second computer that I was using oh man, I can't remember what it's called, but it basically streams the output from one computer to another, and I was having it run through there. Now I'm just doing it just from my laptop, and it seems to be doing all right. The benefit of having a second computer is that it offloads some of the CPU intensity needed, some of the CPU work needed to make it happen, make the stream post to YouTube or whatnot. I don't think I need that. I'm not going to be doing any gaming. It's really important for gaming, but I'm not doing any gaming streaming right now, so I don't need to worry about that. Hi there, Marlon. Nice of you to jump in and say hi. So let's see, 258. I'm going to start the meeting, and you're probably going to hear me talk to Fitz, and he is from Reflect, which is an automated testing tool. I've done nothing more than just look at it, but he offered to give a demo, and I appreciate that. And so they'll be doing a demo today and show you how everything works, and then we'll be taking your questions at the end. So let me jump into the meeting, and I'm going to need to do some audio work. Camera and mic. That's fine. I'm trying to figure out where I want this to run. It's right there. It's my first time trying to do a screen share. I do have an account. I am who I say I am. Let's see, what's my account with them under? Oh, so many questions. Hope your Friday's going off to a good start, or maybe off to a good end. It should be coming near the end of the work day for most folks, if not for all of you. Okay. There have been a lot more folks on Twitch doing live streaming of coding. I like seeing that. If you have a Twitch channel, mention it here. If you have anybody who you like watching on there, mention it in chat. I don't know if links will post in chat, but you could also just say their username. Okay, that's good. That's good. Go. Let's join. So you're gonna hear me talk to somebody. Yeah. Hello. I'm good. I am actually. I've got the live stream going. I forgot that I'd probably want to do a meeting with you first, but it's going. I'm not sharing the screen or anything for you, and your audio is also not connected. So the folks on the live stream only hear me talking to myself. For now, I'm gonna connect your live stream. First, I'm gonna turn off my camera because it's super jumpy, because I've got the broadcast software running, and it's gonna be messing with that. So, okay, I think that's good. I'm going to go ahead and put you on the stream now. I'll move you over. And then I'm going to also work on getting the audio routed. A new version. Okay, I don't need that yet. Application audio. Okay. Running applications. Off, you can go to and let's see if I did this right or if I crashed the computer. And then I need to go over there. Change that. Desktop audio. Need to remember how to do audio, output capture, audio, input capture, audio, output capture. Okay. Device. That's weird. It changed my webcam. Funny. Okay, that's all right. How do I make your screen bigger? Do you know how to do that? I've used this software a while back. Oh, I think I double click on it and that's better. Okay, do you mind just saying hi and let's see if I got that set up right.
Hi, this is Fitz from Reflect.
Okay, so if y'all heard him introduce himself, let me know in the live stream. So I've got comments turned on. It's interesting. All the green areas on the screen are black. That's strange. Oh yeah, sure enough. That's funny.
Going through, you think?
Yes, that is exactly what I'm thinking. It is. Maybe that'll help. Okay. That's better. A little bit better. Maybe that'll knock down the CPU usage a little bit. Okay, let's see. Nobody's responded in chat yet. I can also try doing listening to it on my own, but that really slows things down. Audio's echoing, but not terrible.
Okay.
Let's see. What could that be? From there. I haven't done a live stream in a while, so this is my first time getting things set up. It's going to be a little bit, yeah. Like section podcast. Okay, so I take input that and that. I take not you. That's different. Oh man. Okay. So I'm going to change the output. I'm not going to be able to hear you for just a second. My entire computer is just completely slowing down. It is. Trying to do too many things at once, which is just how I operate. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. I actually did not change the audio, so it didn't go away because I thought I had changed it and then it wasn't. The apply button didn't light up because everything is running super slow. And I'm gonna go and close out everything I don't need. All the YouTube videos that I was planning on watching.
Save those tabs somewhere.
That's that. Then I need that. I can close that. Then I can turn off preview. Then I can close some more programs. Quit you. Just trying to speed things up. Okay, that should be better. Now I'm got to get the audio working. The output to that. That's output. Okay, do you mind saying something real quick?
Yeah, hi, this is Fitz Nolan from Reflect.
Darn it, I can't hear you. Okay, just a second. I think I'm just going to fall back to what I had going before. That was semi-echoey. Click there. Oh, I didn't want that one. Okay, I have audio back for you now. The idea that I was trying out didn't work, but that's all right. I'm going to do a new session and record. Okay, that should be set up to run. If you can go ahead and say hi again one more time, and I'll see if somebody else says hi on the stream, on the comments.
Yeah, hi, this is Fitz Nolan from Reflect Software. I'm one of the co-founders there, and Reflect is a no-code tool for automated website testing.
Awesome. And I guess while we wait for folks to say, give a thumbs up in chat, Reflect also does visual regression testing, which is how you reached out to me, right?
That's right. Yeah. So we the first testing layer would be the functional layer of your application, so the behavior, the buttons, the scrolls, the actions, everything. And then what we've added on top of that is visual testing. So what gives you the ability to pick a certain element or region of your page and take a screenshot of that element and then compare that screenshot to future screenshots of the same element over time. So that way, if visually there's a regression or some state doesn't update as a result of an action, you'll be notified when they don't line up.
Awesome. Yep, that is a tricky feature to have support for, but if you get it right, it's really powerful. So.
Yeah, and it's also not something that Selenium ships with out of the box. So a lot of these automated tools, it's difficult to test your site as the user is going to use and experience your site. It's always at the functional layer. It's always getting those, like the actual click on the button, just like we're doing, but they're not actually experiencing the web page, the way that we're trying to do.
Right. Yep. Yeah, there's a common question of, hey, can I test how this actually looks? And then
Yeah.
You're like, well, in a way, you
Yeah, with
can,
a
but it's like,
third-party tool usually is the response,
yeah,
right? If you can
right.
hook up, Jest or one of the Apple tools, one of these other third-party tools, and that was kind of one of the reasons we built it in from the start was that we wanted to do it, and we found that okay, it was always going to be two integrations. It was going to, or two features or two tools that you're going to use, Selenium plus something else.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay, so I got some thumbs up in chat. Right now, I'm quitting any application I don't need in order to get performance a little bit better. But we should be able to go. There's a little bit of an echo, but I think we're going to have to just work with it.
Okay,
Um,
cool. Well, is it okay then to go ahead and screen share?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Great. So let me know if this is showing up for you.
Sure is. And let me try and see if I can make make it larger.
Okay.
I didn't want to use Zoom because it's Zoom and it's too mainstream, but I just switch over to it 'cause at least I know how to use most of it for the
Yeah, it's
most part.
the familiarity is worth something, I guess, right?
Right. Yeah.
I hear ya. I mean, it's so funny with all these tools. Everyone's kind of got their own. Each one of them has their own quirks, and like what you've got to remember to do, and they're all kind of different. And it seems
Yep.
like every customer we talk to wants to use something different too. So,
Yeah.
customer, colleague, partner, whatever it is. It seems like we're all. I've used four different video chat services this week.
Yep. That is exactly how this world is going right now. Okay.
Yep.
Apparently, going full screen doesn't actually hide the toolbars. No, don't always do that. Okay, there we go. I think that's as large as it's going to get, and we're just going to have to go with that.
Okay. So as I said, Reflect is a no-code tool for automated website testing. And what we're trying to do with this tool is make it easy for manual testers to automate the repetitive testing that they're doing in their web applications and on their websites. A sort of a second use case for a different persona is the test automation engineer or the software engineer who is pushing new code and then constantly going to the live web application to just make sure everything's working. So they're running through that same manual test, or they're coding up an automated Selenium test for these kind of simple flows. And our goal is to make it as easy to create a test uh, as it is for you to use your site just one time. So you run through your site once, you verify that flow or that user behavior, and then from that interaction, we can build a repeatable machine executable test, which you can use and run on demand whenever you want. So that's the high level promise of what we're trying to do is basically give you the coverage and efficiency of a manual test with the speed of an automated test with test automation. And so combine those two together and you have basically the Reflect experience, which is you use your website once and then you have this test that you can execute whenever you want.
Okay.
So this is the Reflect dashboard. And on the left-hand side, you have tags, and tags are just a lightweight way to organize your tests. So we've got tests that are focused on a particular agency or environment checks that we use to verify that our system is working, as well as some other tests that we execute on releasing a new version of Reflect. And then we also have some mobile tests as well. And I'll get into the different profiles that we support a little bit later. So for now, let's focus on the right-hand side here, and you can see that within this tag environment checks, I have three tests. The first test is user agent, the next one is valid SSL, and the next one is browser dimensions. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a new test, just like one of these tests that I have here, and I'll show you the test authoring experience. So authoring a test is as simple as just giving it a name. And in this case, I'm going to use Google Translate because it's a good input-output web application to demonstrate. So you give it a name and you give it a URL, and that's it. To start a new test in Reflect, it's just a URL and a name. Below this here, you can see that we select a device profile. So if I were to select tablet or mobile, then we'll use Chrome's device emulation to launch a browser session with that profile. For this test, I'm just going to use desktop. And so we'll just launch Chrome with the regular profile here. So what's going to happen now is we're going to spin up a new virtual machine in the cloud. We're going to launch Chrome inside of that virtual machine. And then we're going to navigate Chrome to the URL that you gave us. And we're going to take you to what we call the recording experience. When you're in the recording experience, all of your actions are going to be captured and recorded by our instrumentation inside of the Chrome browser. And this is how we basically build up that repeatable test from all of your actions. So our goal here, you can kind of think of this as a black box. The inputs are your actions in this instrumented version of Chrome, and the output is a repeatable, machine executable test. So I'm just going to click around here, and as you can see on the left-hand side, we're building up some actions here. And what those are is those translated actions that correspond to the actions I've taken here in the web page. You'll also notice from that modal that I just closed out that this Chrome session is a brand new, fresh session of Chrome. So there's no cookies installed. There's no user state built up. There's no local state. There's no cached images or anything. So everything that we're experiencing on this web page is as if we're a new user for the first time. And the reason that we do that is to avoid false positive test failures when these tests run due to state that's been built up on your local device. A lot of tools out there allow you to install an extension to capture these actions in a web page, and they'll spit out a test from those actions. But the downside there is if your local browser has state, such as being logged in for the web application, or if you have cookies that change the state or the behavior of the web application, when that tool tries to go and execute that test on a fresh browser that doesn't have your cookies, it's going to fail. So we eliminate that from the outset by putting you into this fresh version of Chrome. Okay, so just real quick here, let me go ahead and take an action. I'll put in the word hello and we'll see that hola comes out. So now this is a good time for me to add a visual validation. And this is what we talked about just briefly a little earlier on this screen share today, Kevin, is if I click add a visual validation, what I can do here is click and drag over a region to validate its visual appearance, to validate how that element looks. So up here, I'm going to click Save. And on the left-hand side, you can see that we've now captured an image of that element. And we're going to use that image as the baseline image on every future test execution to compare that element to the original baseline. So we're going to make sure that the visual appearance hasn't changed too much over time. I'm going to add a few more visual validations here just to kind of show the versatility of this tool. It's any element can be targeted here. And obviously, certain elements are higher value than others. The sign in button is really high value, but it's probably unlikely to change. Maybe the order or the languages that are selected as the most likely languages, those might change. So maybe those would be useful to validate because you'd want to know if you accidentally changed those. Cool. I've got a little bit of a test script built up over here. And on the left-hand side, you can kind of see that this reads a little bit like an English language translation of the test. So load Google Translate at this URL, click and enter into the form with the identifier source. We didn't actually enter any text, so we just clicked on it. Next, we click translation, we clicked on Spanish. Down here, we actually entered the text hello. And then we had a few visual validation steps. So at this point, I'm going to save this, and we'll come back to this, and we'll make some changes to it shortly. But let me just go ahead and save this. And so what the argument here is this test loads up Google Translate, verifies that I can input hello and I get hola out, and it verifies that documents, sign in, and Arabic are all present visually. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And so now you can see we're back to the all tests view. So what we're doing now in Reflect is we're taking that test that we just captured and we're re-executing it live in a brand new virtual machine with a brand new version of Chrome. And we're going to check that all those actions execute successfully. If they don't, oh no, it's okay. And so if those actions don't execute successfully, we'll notify you via email as well as in the application here. So this test is pretty short. It's only about 11. It's only 11 steps, so it should only be about 15 seconds or so. And you can see right here that the test just ran successfully. So now we have the opportunity to go in and inspect our test run. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to click on the name here and we'll take a look. So the first thing to notice here is we have this auto playing video here on the right hand side. So what this is this is a video capture of our Chrome browser session executing these steps here that we just captured in the recording live. And the reason that we include this is so that if you get a failure, if you have to examine a test or even a passing test, and you just want to see how did the web page react when I took these actions, you have the actual video, the video stream basically of our executor running through these steps. On the bottom here, you can see we have the JavaScript console, and we also have the network requests. So this is obviously very useful. If you have a failing test, you can go through and you can usually locate one or two network requests that resulted in a 400 or a 500 HTTP status code. So this will help your engineer debug the underlying issue when you have a failing test. So I'm going to go ahead and let this run through. And you'll see on the left-hand side here, we're going to basically narrate through these test steps as the video runs through. And so it should go in sync here. We have hello, we have hola here. We took a screenshot there, screenshot of the documents, screenshot of sign in, and then the final screenshot of Arabic. So what I want to show you now here is that particular screenshotting, the visual validation step. So if you click on any one of your test steps here, you can dive in, and this is what we call the test step detail pane. And if you look at the information we have here, we'll show you all the selectors that we capture. And what we use here is a custom algorithm that helps to ensure diversity of the selectors that we use for your elements. So in this case, the selector we captured, the TLID input selector, was enough to identify this documents button. But if for some reason your page changed, we would fall back to using some of these other selectors. Additionally, we support scrolling the element into view. So that'll support cases where you add a banner to the top of your page or the menu navigation changes and everything is shifted. So if your element that you were targeting is now off screen, you'll be able to scroll that automatically into view without needing to fail your test for it. So down here, you can see we have the visual validation step. So this tabbed view of the images shows you the expected view, the actual view, and the delta view. In this particular case, the images are identical from when we recorded the test to when it executed. So that's why the clicking between these two tabbed options here shows no difference. I'll show you an example of a visual validation that failed in a minute. So this particular test ran successfully. And you can see here in the history tab, we have one execution at 4:23 today. If we were to run this test often, then we'll have a whole bunch of test executions fill up here in the version history. And Reflect stores 8 days of past test results by default on the free tier. But you can configure this obviously with your particular paid tier. So let me show you kind of one other test here just to kind of hammer home the history point here. We have a test here that we run every hour, this user agent test, and it just verifies the user agent of our runner. And so you see we have all these different test runs, and you can just quickly hop around and take a look at some of these historical runs, and they'll load right up for you. So our goal here is to give you kind of a historical view of your particular test. So if your test changes a lot over time, you can see when the test changed, and you can see what was different between the individual test runs. Um, of course, you'll have a video execution, video recording for all the executions, and that'll help as well. Okay, so let's go back to that test that we just recorded. And I want to add another sort of action here to the end of this test. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate re-recording. So re-recording is when you have a test that you want to save some portion of the steps at the beginning of the test. In this particular case, I want to save everything up until the observation on documents. So I'm going to re-record from this step. So what we're going to do here is we're going to spin up another fresh VM. We're going to launch a new version of Chrome, a new instance of Chrome, and we're going to execute the steps in this particular test up to that test step that I chose previously. And what this is going to allow me to do is add new steps to the end of my existing test without needing to re-record manually all of these steps that we already took. So you'll see here on the left-hand side, I actually can't interact with this right now because we're still in the loading phase. And as we're narrating these actions over here on the left, we'll get to the end, and that'll be the moment at which I can re-record. Okay, so here we are now. So you can see up top, recording is set. So any actions I take now, so for example, if I click here and enter world, and it changes to Hola Mundo, I can now validate that. And I'll go ahead and do that. And then one cool feature you can do here is, let's say that you actually wanted to save everything that you had previously recorded. So these are all those extra steps that were after the step that I took. I'm going to go ahead and include them onto the end of this recording. I just wanted to make that one little insertion change. I wanted to verify hello world and verify that it came out with Hola Mundo. And so I'm going to then go ahead and update the recording, and I'm going to include these subsequent steps. So I'll click update. And then once again, we're going to execute that test fresh in a new virtual machine with a new instance of Chrome, and we'll let you know if it fails. You can see here from the test detail, from the test list page, that we have 14 steps, and that's because we added a number of steps, in the middle there. The last thing that I kind of want to talk about is our API and our scheduling capabilities. So I mentioned that our environment checks support running these tests in this group on a schedule. This particular environment checks run every hour. If I wanted to change that, we can do that very easily right here. So I can run all of these tests every day at 4 a.m. if I'd like, or you could run it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at, say, noon. Runs every day during business, and then you'll be notified, of course, from any failures. Or you could even choose a particular day of the month, for example. Let's say if you have some major deadline that you're targeting. So our scheduler allows you to do that. And then I also, in a moment, will show you the API, but just real quick, I'll just hop back into that test that we re-recorded. You can see here that it ran successfully. And just to kind of, really prove that we made those changes, you can see that the text was in fact updated to hello world, and we verified that it looks like Hola Mundo. And then if you look at the history here, you can see that we recorded that test at 4:23 and ran it. We updated the test, and then we ran it again at 4:29, and that's the particular test run that we're looking at now. So with the last minute that I have here, just want to kind of talk about our API. So this is a particular test that verifies just a very basic login scenario. So we load up the classic automationpractice.com website, which I'm sure all of your audience is familiar with. And we click on sign in, we add a username, a password, and we submit our login. And then all we do is just add a visual validation here that the My Account logo, the My Account text shows up. And that text is located right here in the middle of the page. So this particular test makes use of variables. And variables are really a key functionality that we see for test automation engineers who want to be able to execute a single test that they've recorded with a bunch of different configurations for their variables. We support that out of the box. And so all you have to do is name your input steps with a variable. In this particular case, we've created a variable called ecom email. And we have a value here that's defined. If I remove this and then add a variable to it, you'll see this account variables pop up. And this will show you all of the variables that you have for your account. You have the ability to add a new variable right here. So let's say I add new var right here. And then you can define randomly generated functions for your variables. So let's say I want this variable to be random text, alphabetic characters. Let's say I need 10 alphabetic characters. And then at the conclusion of it, I want to say add example.com. I can do just that. And oops, I forgot the dot. So what this will do is this will enable me to have a new variable that I can use, new var, and I can insert that in place of my variable that I have in my test. What this also allows you to do is kick off tests programmatically with our API and insert values for these variables. So you can overwrite the email address field with a new email address at runtime. So if you're an test automation engineer, and you've got, say, 100 test cases with 100 different email addresses that you have to inject for this particular test, you don't need to record that test 100 times. And you don't even need to enter that text anywhere in our interface. You can just hit our API with your 100 variables, basically, your 100 email addresses, and we'll execute 100 tests with each of those tests using one of those configuration of your variables. So I have this set up off screen here. You won't be able to see it, but I'm going to execute the data-driven tests right here, and you'll see in about a second or two, it should pop up, and it does. So if I go down here and look at data-driven, that test is now running because I just executed that via our API off screen from the in the terminal here. So that test will run, and it'll notify us when it completes. So that's a lot of talking from me, and hopefully that gives you a flavor for Reflect, which is no code automated website testing. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions people have or dive in deep on any particular area of it. But hopefully you have a sense here for tags, tests, variables, recording, visual validation, and re-recording.
Yep. Thanks for running through that. That's really neat functionality. There's a lot of functionality in there. I've seen some software that claims to do this type of stuff, but it's missing a lot of the key functionality you need, like the scheduling. That was really nice to see.
Hmm.
I like seeing that. That selector fallback was kind of an interesting idea, and so I focus on WebDriver IO, and one of the big things that I run into is, uh, not having the right selector on the page, and there are ways to work around that, or having a selector that is um, uh,
Resilient.
yeah, just really crazy. So yeah, having the idea of a selector fallback to really target in on a specific element that maybe the class name changes, but
Right.
everything else stays the same, you can be pretty well assured that it's going to keep the same, or that it's the
And,
same
and
element.
and one thing on that that I didn't dive too deeply on. So because we capture all those different selectors, we actually rank them based on what we think is most valuable. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're one of those software engineering shops or a SaaS product that uses identifiers for all of your key elements or uses unique classes or anything like that for for your high value page elements, we'll rank those ahead of other selectors that we captured. And so you mentioned the classes changing frequently. That's pretty common. We'll rank
Right.
identifiers ahead of classes. We'll rank sort of custom elements ahead of identifiers. And so uh, with that ranking, we basically try to find the ones that we think you put there intentionally to be resilient. In other words.
Yeah. Is there a way to specify? So one thing that I do, or try to do more often, is to use a custom data attribute. So something like data
Yes.
dash QA. So is there a way to specify, hey, this is the specific attribute that we add to the page for this element?
So there isn't a way for you to manually do it in our tool, but we're going to
Mm-hmm.
capture that for you automatically.
Gotcha.
And custom data attributes are ranked. It's in our documents, the ranking, but I want to say it's right after a custom element that you define, but above
Mm-hmm.
identifiers, a custom data attribute with there. So data test ID, data sci ID, stuff like that.
Oh,
That'll
nice.
rank right near the top. So yeah, so we'll do that right out of the box for you.
So do you have at specific custom attributes that you're looking for?
There are a few, yeah, and they're listed in the docs.
Okay.
There are a few that are high value. So I don't know them off the top of my head.
Yeah,
Data
that's
test
fine.
ID is definitely one of them.
Okay.
Data sci is definitely one of them, and there are a few others. The ARIA labels, ARIA attributes, we're going to look for those.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so there are basically a sort of a set of key identifiers that we look for.
Nice. Okay, that's really cool to have that kind of built in, and it does kind of go along with the idea of the still no code, so you don't have
Exactly.
to worry about setting all that up. It just kind of takes care of that for you. And I know data or custom data attributes are pretty big in tools like
Yes.
React, and so
Yes.
that's super important.
And
So.
they're really big in the testing community. A lot of testers we
Mm-hmm.
talk to will, if they have write access, they can add those to the code to the application themselves, or they'll
Yep.
be working with their developers to have the developers build those in from the get go. And
Yeah.
it's super common because as you know, anyone writing Selenium or Cypress or any of these other tools where they're targeting the elements themselves, WebDriver IO, they're going to want those attributes and they're going to rely on them. So we're no different in wanting to rely on them as well.
Right. Yeah. Some other things that I really liked were the screen recording. That is insanely helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, this past year I had to switch the CI environment I was using. We dropped using a screen recording for the when the test would run in the CI environment.
Mhm.
And after a month or two of pain, I was like, we got to get this back because,
We got to bring it back. Yeah, I
yeah.
can't tell you how many times we've had tests that run, and we're like, wait, why did that fail? Or we look at the
Mm-hmm.
logs, and it says what the failure was, and we're just like, but what did it look like? I don't
Exactly.
know how it really failed until I go and see the video, and then oftentimes what you can see is the failure is on one step, but maybe the bug on the page is a little earlier than that, and so the recording basically illuminates that for you.
Yes, exactly. For that recording, is it a Is it an actual video recording or is it screenshots pieced together?
It's a recording. It's an MP4.
Okay,
So you
nice.
could download that and share that. And we actually have a customer who's doing just that. So they're using so the engineering team, the testing automation team is using these videos and sharing them with the marketing team and like the basically another division of the company to show the particular test cases that they verified. And so that
Hmm.
marketing team kind of has proof that, okay, yeah, look, somebody really walked through this particular user flow in this journey.
That's nice. Yeah, even if you don't do any specific assertions, you could just have it replay through the steps and
Exactly.
watch it yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's an
Yeah,
interesting
if you
way.
wanted to, if you wanted to human in the loop it, which even you can imagine is kind of a slightly more basic level of what we're attempting to do, you could just share the video out and say, look, this is what it looks like when someone uses, runs through these particular actions.
Hmm. Yep. And I wanted to make a point that I think one big area that this tool could help with are kind of proof of concept apps. So if you have an app that you're building out, you haven't done a lot of user testing, and you are still in the development life cycle of it, you don't really want to invest a ton of time on testing,
Right.
writing custom Selenium scripts and all that. So it looks like with this, you could pretty easily set up some happy path tests to
Yes.
make sure that the main functionality that you're really going for still works, so that when you push out updates to the beta users, they have you have some good confidence that things are still working without breaking things. And I also think the design community as well
Yes.
can take advantage of this because
Yeah, you're
yeah.
spot on. I mean, this is you're going to do that. Like what you just mentioned is you're going to do that manually anyway. So if you're
Hmm.
doing this beta product, or you're doing a one-off, or not quite a one-off, but say like a 2 or 3 week off of a new feature or product, you're going to be doing that manual testing anyway. You're going to deploy, you're going to then load it up, and you're going to run through all those quick sanity checks, happy path case tests. So you're spot on. We think those types of happy path, quick one-offs, those 1 to 2 minute tests that are say 30 to 50 actions, you can
Hmm.
just record them and Reflect, and boom, you've got them. They can run whenever you want. You can schedule them to run every morning, while you're developing this feature, while you're pushing it out, and you now have confidence that flow that was working yesterday is still working. So, and that's our goal, is to have this be as lightweight as manually running through at one time. And the reason for that is because that's what you're doing already. Everyone's doing that by and large.
Yeah, yeah. I like to. I've so I've have a book out, and one of the things that I said was, you're already testing your website. You already
Yeah.
run tests all the time, and
Right.
most of the people who are testing your website are the users. So,
Yep. Exactly.
you know, no
Exactly.
matter what, you're already testing your website. Now, how who do you want finding the bugs though is the real
Yeah,
question.
who gets the notification? Is it the unhappy
Yeah,
user in the form of a function, a button that doesn't work, or yeah, is it you in your email inbox?
yeah, yeah. No questions have come in from the chat, but if anybody in chat has any questions, I'd love to hear what's going on. Sorry, the video unfortunately is super choppy from your webcam.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, I
Um,
think it's either the fact that I'm killing my CPU already, or that this software that I'm using runs through the browser and it's just not quite as um, close. It's not close enough to the CPU that it can have a good rendering in time. But yeah, it is what it is. I think it's fine. Uh, but let me see. Was there something else? It's automationpractice.com. I actually hadn't seen that, and
oh,
I'm gonna take a look
yeah.
at that.
So that's just a site. I don't actually know. I thought it was the Selenium folks who own it and operate it.
Could
Um,
be.
so it's basically just a an ecom demo website with a catalog of women's clothes, men's
Mm-hmm.
clothes, various clothing, and you can add them to cart and you can check out. I don't know if they'll actually. I don't know if there's like a fake credit card that you can use or whatever, but they also support logins. So you create username, password. So we use that to kind of demonstrate how we'll work with with user accounts. So storing the variable for the username, storing the variable for the password, that type of thing. So yeah, so that's just kind of it's just a free website that it's just good for demonstrating the different functionality. We actually have a blog post that talks about some of our favorite demo websites for testing. So we have
Yeah.
automation practice on there, and we have a few others that we are always using to demonstrate cool functionality. So file uploads, hovers, stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
we do out of the box. There's so many websites that are great examples of that functionality.
Yeah. Yep. I wish I would have run across that blog post before. I don't know if I mentioned that to you, but or an email, but yeah, I with the book that I just finished or I am finishing up, I spent at least 2 weeks trying to find this specific demo website. I didn't want to build it because I knew there were demo websites out there,
Yep.
but everything that I found was either too simple, so I couldn't get a good set of demos going. It wasn't real world, so it wasn't. It was just a set of examples, and I didn't
Yeah.
really want that. Um, and or it was too complicated to where trying to set it up was just
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
It was like a project in itself. So
Right,
these are
exactly.
kind of our sites. This is just demo websites. This article we have.
Hmm.
Automationpractice.com is kind of our first. It's great for e-commerce. Google.com, it's just sort of that typical one because like everyone's always going to load it and they're going to try your. We still see a lot of customers come in and at some point, whether it's their first test or their second or third or whatever it is, they're just going to go to Google and they're just going to try a few things out just because they know Google so well, and so it's just a good test to
Yeah,
to
and the
run
other
through.
good thing is that if you ever looked at the Google HTML, it is insane how they
Yes, right. So if you
set that
can
up.
work for Google, then it means
Yeah.
you can work for anything. That's kind of our feeling too.
Hmm.
jQuery UI, jQuerpella is good for file uploads. So we support file uploads. I didn't demonstrate this, but we support file uploads out of the box, which it's pretty difficult to do that in some other
Yeah.
tools. It's just difficult to do that. Period. It's kind of like a complex interaction. And then drag and drop is good. Sortable JS is great for drag and drop. So yeah, we have this up. I just wanted to show you that we've got that, which is a good example for different websites that you can use to test out your automation.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna make a note about that. I think I'm gonna link to that in a newsletter.
Great.
I'm
Yeah.
starting up a new newsletter, and I want to trying to find material for it, and that is a good option. So, one other question. I don't remember if you covered this or not, but everybody always asks, does this run in XYZ browser? Can I test this in XYZ browser? Um,
Yep.
are you using a custom render browser kind of
So,
thing?
so what we have is we have an instrumented version of Chrome, and that's what
Mm-hmm.
we record your test in. So when we launch that new VM and we instantiate the version of Chrome, it's basically it's Chrome with just like some extra functionality that we've added, and that's like our special sauce. And so we capture
Yeah.
your actions in that Chrome browser, produce that translated test, that intermediate test representation, and then that test representation is executed by our runner, which uses Selenium to automate the browser, but obviously has a whole lot of other logic layered on top. And we target Chrome when we execute your test in the test runner, basically.
Gotcha.
But because of that intermediate representation, you won't need to re-record your test for us to target Firefox, Safari, and Edge. So we're
Gotcha.
not there. We're not there yet in supporting execution cross browser, but
Yeah.
that's on our roadmap. Something we absolutely want to support. And the good news is that you won't need to re-record or take any action. We'll be able to execute that intermediate representation of your test against those browsers once we have that support.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm just gonna say, I think cross-browser testing is a bit overrated. Um,
Yeah, I'll,
yeah.
I'll add anecdotally, the customers we've talked to, and we have a number of customers today, and it hasn't come up,
Yeah.
which is surprising. When we were first designing this back in 2018, we were thinking about this. We actually had cross browser like right up there at the top
Mm-hmm.
for what we needed to do, but going out into market, it just doesn't really come up, which is
I
it
wonder
is
if
what it is. I
that's
guess it's maybe it's
yeah.
kind of scary that Chrome is all that people are okay with,
Yeah.
but it's also just kind of it's just a numbers game, I guess, and it's not worth prioritizing, I guess, for them. So
Yeah.
it
I
hasn't
think
come up as much as we would have thought, to be honest.
I think that's definitely a big um, part of it. You mentioned it's a numbers game, and I wonder if the tide is kind of turning there because I remember a few years ago that was a big thing, and then with Cypress when they came out, they weren't cross browser. I
Yes, yeah.
believe they may have added it, or they're
I
looking to add
uh,
it.
Yes, they've been saying they're looking at it for a while. I do believe they support Firefox now, but I haven't used it myself. But I know, yeah, you're spot on. They were Chrome only for so long,
Hmm.
and they're obviously been very successful as a tool.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and that's
so
that's why I
yeah,
think it's overrated. It's not that it's not important to do cross-browser
right,
testing. It's not that you're not going to have bugs. It's
right,
just the amount of effort needed to
right.
make these tests run in all the different browsers and the different ways that they handle code and don't support things and support other things.
Yeah,
It is a huge cost in my
yeah.
mind compared to the
Totally agree.
slight benefit.
We aim, like, we want to, when we roll it out, we obviously, and this is probably why Cypress took a while to roll out Firefox. We want to roll it out so that it does just work.
Hmm.
So you're not doing it. So you're not lifting up a single finger to have to correct
Yeah.
a test. And so that means that we're going to do all the legwork to make it work in those cross browsers. And so that's obviously going to take effort on our part. And we're frankly just balancing that effort with our customer demand. So
Hmm.
where their needs lie. And so yeah, so I think you're spot on that it's a little bit overrated.
Cool. Well, on that semi-controversial note, I think we're gonna go
Yeah.
ahead and wrap it up. It's been, um, I've been recording for an hour. It hasn't been a full hour on here, but I didn't see any other questions in chat. But I'll send you the link to the video. There, some folks may add a question. I think you can comment on the live video after it's
Cool.
published. It's going to
Yeah.
get published up to YouTube and should have some views there. But I really appreciate you stopping by and demoing this for us. Really neat technology, and I hope that to see you continuing to work on this and make some movement on it. It's really neat, and I think it definitely has good applications out there. And so, yeah, thanks
Well,
again.
thank you, Kevin. We really appreciate the time. We're happy to talk about testing, and hopefully we speak to both the manual tester as well as the test automation engineer and the software engineer even. So yeah, thank you so much for having us on, and we will not let you down. And Reflect will keep forging ahead.
Perfect. And then I'm just gonna show real quick if I can. Okay, I gotta exit full screen here. How do I do this? I was gonna show the website.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Here I can pull it up and
okay,
share my
that's
screen.
just for anybody interested in it. There we go. You've got it. And that's Reflect.run.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Reflect.run.
Yeah, and you could probably just search Reflect test, and
Yep.
it'll.
Yeah. Reflect testing will work. And no code testing, actually, we're kind of making a move there.
Oh, nice.
we're focusing our efforts, now that we've kind of got some traction, we're trying to focus a little bit on SEO and
Right.
stuff like that. And so no code testing, we're starting to rank for as well. So hopefully you find us there.
Awesome. Okay. Well, have a great day. Hope you have a good weekend.
Thanks so much, Kevin. You too. Bye bye.
Bye. And I know I'm still on the live stream. Um, Thank y'all for watching along. That was Reflect.run, and apologies for the audio issues. Did get those worked out, it looks like, and probably made it more complicated than I have to. Apparently, the streaming software I use can actually capture desktop audio, and that was coming in through my desktop. So I could have done without that, but first time back, so I give myself a little bit of a leeway. But thank you so much for joining and joining in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and click that end stream button. But hopefully I'll be able to do this more often. Let me know if you liked this format of having companies come on and give demos and kind of talk a little bit about. It's really easy for me because all I have to do is just schedule it with the company and they do all the talking and all the preparation and everything. But it's nice to see what kind of tools are out there, and it can really help when you go into your next decision meeting and the management is trying to pick out a tool, and you can kind of help guide that towards what you think is good. And just it's helpful for me to, I find it personally helpful to be more aware of what's available out there for me to take a look at. So anyway, thanks again, and until next time, have fun testing.